Hello guys, how are you today? I hope you are good. Okay, let's start our class. Today's class is about past simple with the auxiliary did. Uh, this auxiliary is different from the ones that we learned in the present simple that were does and do. In this case, did is going to work with all the present pronouns, including the third person in singular. Okay, we have to take into account that when we have regular verbs, this one, regular verbs, when we have them, we have to add ed at the end. Remember that ed at the end to make it in past because the verb is normally in present or in an infinitive form, and to put it in past, we just have to add ed if it is a verb, a regular verb. I'm sorry. But if it is a irregular verb, it's different. You have to learn. The only way to do this is to learn the past of these verbs because they are not the same. In here, you can find some examples. In this case, we're going to see how the verb play is conjugated. In this case, with all the pronouns. I play in affirmative form. First of all, we need a subject and then we're going to put our verb. But taking into account that this one is in past, we have to add ed. Yes, ed. You played, he played, and so on. In the negative form, we just put the first of all we just put the subject, then the negative form in this case is contracted, but we can put it separately. First of all the did and then the word not, and then after this deny thing we have play, that is our verb, but take into account that in this case we cannot put ed, is incorrect. We have to put the verb in the infinitive form because we already have this, and this negative thing or negative word is going to tell us that this sentence is in past. Take that into account, guys. And the same is going to happen with the interrogative sentence. In this case, first of all, we need to put the auxiliary did, then we need our subject, and after that, and finally, we need our verb. But the verb is going to be in past? No, the verb is in present in the normal way, in the infinitive form. Why? Because we already have did, and with this auxiliary, we know that this sentence is in past. In this case, we need ed because we don't have an auxiliary here. So we need the verb in past to know that the sentence is in past. Okay, we have the usages in here. The usages of the verb to be, the verb in past, or the past simple, are this. First one, when we talk about an action in the past, but that action has a specified moment. We specified the moment that action was. In this case, last year. Last year is telling us that I bought this car, but not today, not yesterday, but last year. We're specifying the time. The second one, or letter B, is quite the same, but in this case, we are not specifying the time we did this action or this action happened. Letter C, to express habits in the past. In this case, they never drank alcohol. We're trying to say that in the past, that people, in this case they, never drink any of alcohol. any of that. And the last one is quite difficult, or a little bit more difficult than you are used to, because you haven't seen or you haven't learned this topic. As it is conditional. In this case, if I saw her, I should speak to her. It's something that is not probable. It's something that is not true. Okay, then our next topic is past with the verb to be. This one is easier. In my opinion, this one is easier. You have to take into account that in past, the verb to be has two ways. The first one is was, and the second one is were. Was is going to work with I and all the third person words. He, she, or it. And of course, I. All this with was. And the rest, which are you, we, and they work with were. Were. Take that into account, guys. Okay, as you can see, it's the same as we were talking about minutes ago. I'm talking about the structure, but in here we're going to have the structure more like specified in here. As you can see, to create a positive or an affirmative sentence, we need first of all a subject, then we need the verb to be, and then we need a complement. And to make a negative sentence, we need a subject, a verb to be, but in a negative form, it could be separately, like was not or were not, or it could be contracted, like wasn't or weren't. And then we need a complement. And the last one, to create an interrogative sentence, you have to take into account that the first thing we need is a verb to be, that is going to be our auxiliary, and then we need a subject, and of course a complement at the end. Take into account this. We normally use past with verb to be to talk about jobs or places we were in the past, of course. And here you have some examples. We have two examples of each sentence. The first one, of course, if there are in here in red, and this one in red are the examples of the affirmative sentence, and so on. So first of all, we need a subject, right? Which is I. Then we need a verb to be, which is was. And then we need a complement, that is a doctor. A doctor. In here we have another example of the same affirmative sentence. But let's continue with the negative one. Subject plus verb, negatively of course, and then the complement. This verb be could be also called auxiliary. You, that is our subject, weren't, our verb to be negatively, and the rest is our complement. In here, how can we make a question? Easy. First of all, we need a verb to be as an auxiliary, that is were, and then we need a subject, that is they, and after that we need a complement, that is the rest of the sentence. Do not forget to put the question mark, please. And at the end we have some time expressions that you already know from the previous material I sent. Well guys, this is it for today. Goodbye, take care. If you have any doubt, do not hesitate to call me. Goodbye, take care.